Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Today we'll be checking out why Australians want Indians out. This is a documentary, guys. If you're new here, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for supporting this channel, guys. Without further ado, let's dive right into this one.
Australia is boiling with a new kind of tension, and it's aimed squarely at Indians. Over the past decade, the number of India-born residents has more than doubled, racing past 900,000 and reshaping suburbs from Sydney to Melbourne. While Indian students fill universities and skilled workers keep tech and healthcare afloat, a loud minority is shouting, "Enough! Indians out!" In late August 2025, thousands marched through Australian cities carrying signs warning of replacement and demanding a halt to mass immigration. Flyers claim there are more Indians in 5 years than Greeks and Italians in a century, turning ordinary families into scapegoats for soaring rents and overcrowded trains.
But we're here because anti-immigration is our key political issue.
Are you racist?
Yeah, we're racist. We're proud of who we are. We're proud of who we are as white men. We built this nation.
Are you neo-Nazis?
Yes.
How did the friendship between two vibrant democracies sour enough for protesters to call for Indians to go home? Let's trace the numbers, the fears, and the forces that turned a success story into a flashpoint. Before we move on, I have a small request. Share your thoughts in the comments and like and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Ten years ago, India's footprint in Australia was big but manageable. Around 2013, roughly 380,000 people born in India called Australia home. By 2019, that figure had surged past 660,000, and by the 2021 census, Indians officially overtook the Chinese as the nation's largest overseas-born group after the British. Fast forward to 2023, and the India-born population reached about 845,000, climbing again to nearly 916,000 by mid-2024, over 3.4% of Australia's total population. In a single decade, the Indian community more than doubled, becoming one of the fastest-growing migrant groups in the country. This rise didn't happen by accident. Australia's universities recruited Indian students aggressively, employers sought skilled tech and healthcare workers, and the government viewed Indian migration as an economic boost to offset an aging population. For most of that period, Australians largely welcomed the energy and talent that newcomers brought. On the final weekend of August 2025, a coalition calling itself March for Australia staged rallies across the nation.
The reason for this march was not about racism, not about pro-white. It was about one flag for one nation, one people.
From Sydney's central business district to the streets of Perth and Hobart, demonstrators demanded an end to mass immigration. Banners and chants singled out Indians. Some participants were linked to neo-Nazi and white supremacist networks. Counter-protesters quickly mobilized, and police reported scuffles in several cities. Government leaders condemned the marches as racist and un-Australian.
Neo-Nazis and anti-immigration rallies are not who we are. These are not Australian values. I know that the last few days have caused a great deal of hurt and harm in the Australian community.
Prime ministerial statements reaffirmed that Australia's diversity is a strength, not a threat. But the images of angry crowds and anti-Indian slogans spread worldwide, rattling a diaspora that had long felt welcome. But rapid demographic change always carries a shadow. Between 2013 and 2024, median house prices in Sydney jumped more than 80%, and Melbourne's rents hit record highs. Hospitals and commuter trains strained under surging demand. While economists point to interest rates, land use limits, and construction bottlenecks as the real culprits, a growing chorus began blaming immigration. Anti-immigration activists seized on the Indian boom as Exhibit A.
I think we're being overrun by Indians and Muslims.
Yeah.
I'm not against migration altogether, okay? I'm just over the fact that we're bringing so many in at the same time.
Yeah.
And like she said, they're not conforming to our way of life.
To them, the pace felt too fast, a tidal wave they couldn't control. The protests of August 2025 were not sudden. They were the eruption of years of simmering anxiety over cost of living and population growth. In interviews and placards, protesters repeated a simple claim: "We can't afford this." They pointed to bidding wars for rental apartments and long wait times for healthcare, arguing that new migrants, especially the recent influx from India, were stretching resources thin. The reality is more nuanced. Migrants add workers, entrepreneurs, and tax revenue, and studies show they generally lift wages over time. But the perception stuck. When people feel squeezed, emotion often trumps data. Adding fuel to the fire, Australia's post-pandemic immigration surge coincided with a housing construction slowdown and a national vacancy rate below 1%. Beyond economics lies a deeper fear: cultural change. Some protesters described the growing presence of Indian grocery stores, Hindu temples, and Diwali festivals as signs their neighborhoods were becoming something else. Social media videos of lively Indian weddings or cricket celebrations were twisted into proof of a takeover. One flyer compared Indian arrivals in 5 years to the century-long migration of Greeks and Italians, warning of replacement. That language echoes the far-right Great Replacement conspiracies heard in Europe and the United States. As the Indian community grew, so did its political visibility. Indian Australian voters are courted by both major parties. Some activists fear, without evidence, that migrants might tilt elections or influence policy. This suspicion, combined with economic unease, gave agitators an easy target. Stop the immigration, especially from India. Indian Australian residents describe a mix of pride and apprehension. Many arrived as international students, built businesses, and now raise children who consider themselves fully Australian. They argue that migrants fill critical roles in technology, healthcare, and education, jobs Australia urgently needs. Some shared stories of subtle discrimination, landlords hesitating when they heard an Indian surname, or colleagues making offhand comments about too many newcomers. The protests made those private worries public. Ironically, Australia's own economic data undermines the protesters' claims. Migrants, including Indians, are net contributors to the economy, paying taxes and driving consumer spending. Key sectors such as information technology, aged care, and higher education depend heavily on Indian talent and tuition fees. Economists warn that without continued migration, Australia's aging population would shrink the workforce and slow national growth. Housing shortages, meanwhile, stem far more from limited construction and high investment demand than from migrant arrivals. Yet when rent is due, those complex realities rarely comfort families struggling to pay the bills. Social platforms turned local grievances into national spectacle. Clips of crowded trains or bidding wars for apartments went viral with captions blaming mass migration. Fringe influencers pushed replacement theory narratives, while mainstream outlets, chasing clicks, broadcast protest footage repeatedly. The result, a feedback loop where fear generated attention, which generated more fear. For many Indians in Australia, the protests were more than a news story. Parents worried about children walking home in Indian dress. Students hesitated to speak their native languages on public transport. Community leaders organized safety hotlines and cultural events to reaffirm solidarity. Their message was simple: we belong here. We are part of Australia's story. Australian authorities moved quickly. Federal ministers and state premiers denounced the marches. Police increased patrols around temples and community centers, and bipartisan statements celebrated the nation's multicultural fabric. Canberra also reaffirmed its immigration targets, signaling that policy will not be dictated by extremist pressure. India's government requested assurances for its citizens' safety, receiving public commitments from Australian officials.
Our High Commissioner and our Consulates General in Australia, they were in regular touch with the Australian government, as also with our community members in this regard. As you know, that we have a large diaspora in Australia, almost about 1 million.
Diplomatic ties between the two democracies remain strong despite the protests. The tension is not just about numbers, it's about what kind of country Australia chooses to be. Will economic frustration be weaponized into xenophobia? Or will leaders address housing and cost of living issues without scapegoating migrants? History shows that when societies face scarcity, minorities often become convenient targets. Australia now faces a test of its values. What happened in Australia mirrors debates in many nations. Rapid migration, rising rents, and identity politics create combustible mixtures. From the US to Europe, populist movements have blamed immigrants for economic pain, even when evidence says otherwise. Australia's August marches remind us how quickly global anxieties can localize. Despite the noise, everyday life tells a different story. Indian restaurants thrive in Perth, cricket unites fans from every background, and Indian-Australian entrepreneurs drive innovation. Friendships, marriages, and businesses weave the two cultures together in ways no protest can unravel. Most Australians support diversity and recognize the positive contributions of Indian students, professionals, and families. Yet before blaming migrants, the buck stops with those in power. It's the government's job to ask the hard questions. Is the country ready for this level of migration? Are housing, healthcare, and transport systems expanding fast enough to welcome newcomers without pushing locals aside? When infrastructure lags and policies fail, frustration grows, and legal migrants become easy targets. But these men and women have done nothing wrong. They followed every rule, left families and familiar lives behind, and came seeking opportunity that Australia itself promised. Scapegoating them only hides the real issue. A government that must plan growth, build resources, and keep every community, old and new, feeling included. If you found this insight helpful, hit subscribe. Let's keep these important conversations alive.
Oh, wow, what an interesting documentary. And to me, honestly, if you choose a country as your new home, try to maintain it, try to keep it, try to respect it, try not to change it into what you left. It's just so everywhere that people are complaining about Indians, honestly. Even in Canada, people are complaining. Why is their country? I think the Indian government should do something about, I don't know, but it's just everywhere. The complaints are everywhere. The protests about Indian migrants are everywhere. Honestly, the growth rate of Indians in all these countries are just alarming. People, it's just not funny. Share your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think it's okay? It's not okay for them to protest about Indians leaving their country? Do you think it is okay for them not to enjoy the dividends of their democracy and their country while having so many Indian immigrants around? What are your thoughts? Share your thoughts in the comment section, guys. It was interesting to watch this piece, and I can't wait to bring you more reaction. If you're new on this channel, do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And don't go nowhere, because I'll see you in my next video. Stay safe, guys. Bye.